When I first started dog enrichment activities with my dogs, I had a flimsy snuffle mat from Amazon and a Kong toy. So I didn't really have the tools or the expertise to keep my dogs busy. We've obviously come quite a long way here at Bits and Paws, but I'm going to go back to those early days and talk about the top 5 mistakes I see dog owners making when they start their enrichment journey with their dogs. As always, make sure to have your paw hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more videos just like this one. And now let's get into it. I bought that flimsy snuffle mat for my elderly dog Fiona to give her something to do as her world was becoming smaller. But I didn't really understand why she'd only spend a few minutes interacting with it and then move on to the next thing. This brings me to the first mistake I see people making. They think that all dog enrichment toys are created equal, or they buy them for the novelty over what's important to the dog. There is a huge difference in the quality of different enrichment toys for your dog. For example, a densely packed snuffle mat like this one will provide not only a much longer lasting toy for your dog to interact with, but it will also mean that your dog is going to have to spend so much longer investigating this toy because the little pieces of treats will get stuck all the way down in all these little crevices. Let's compare that to a much cheaper and more flimsy snuffle mat like this, where the strands of fleece just sort of allow the treats to sit on top and the dogs can easily find it. Picking toys that are BPA and phthalate free and made from non-toxic materials is also really important when you consider how much your dog is going to be licking and chewing on this enrichment toy in order to get the treats. Pick high quality dog toys that are free from all the bad stuff and are created for longevity and to have variety and skill level. The second mistake that I see people making is not considering the skill level of their dog when they pick their first enrichment toy. Consider that if your dog is new to enrichment toys or timid, that a complex toy involving multiple steps to figure it out may overwhelm your dog and cause your dog to shut down to the idea of even trying with this enrichment toy. In that case, try to pick an easier toy. Something like, Lulu literally stole it from me. In that case, try to pick an easier toy, like this popcorn nosework toy. While this is part of a larger toy set that can be made more complicated, you can start out with having it all out and having the little treats right in here, which makes it easy for your dog to have an easy win. You can build from that. The key is to build confidence so that at first your dog can easily obtain the reward, aka the treat. Therefore, building confidence in their ability to gain access to it. Then over time, you can make the toy more and more complicated. A great example of a commercially available incremental enrichment activity are puzzle feeders, which are often rated beginner, intermediate, and advanced and allow you to incrementally increase the difficulty for your dog as they increase their experience with enrichment activities and build confidence. Pick toys that work for their current skill level, and for bonus points, pick toys that can incrementally work with them as they gain more confidence. I think a lot of dog owners have a fantasy that they can give their dog any enrichment toy, walk away, and the dog's gonna figure it out and have a great time. The owner's happy because the dog is busy and doing something and happy, and the dog is happy because it's getting treats as a reward for figuring out this puzzle. Problem solved, or is it? While enrichment toys can be a wonderful tool in your toolbox to making sure that your dog's busy when you're doing something else or away from the house or as a way of bonding with them, first, you have to make sure they understand the toy. This is especially true if your dog is new to enrichment toys. A little while ago, a friend of mine called me and said that she had bought her dog a snuffle mat. She'd put it out, she'd put a treat in the snuffle mat. Her dog looked at the mat and then walked away. And she said, "I guess I wasted my money." And I said, "Not so quick. Does your dog understand what to do with it?" And she said, "Well, he looked at the snuffle mat." I said, "Why don't you take the highest value treat that you have, show it to your dog, and then break it up into several pieces, therefore increasing the amount of reward that the dog's going to get for investigating the mat, and then show your dog the first treat as you put it into the mat. Just put it right on top." She called me back a few days later and said that the dog was now using the snuffle mat and it was a resounding success. What was the difference? She worked with her dog, so her dog understood the point of the toy. You may have to do all of this very incrementally depending on your dog's experience level and confidence. And every time you increase the difficulty, you're going to have to gauge to see how your dog reacts to that. If they're shutting down a little bit and not interested, you may have to back off a little bit and then try again. This is not a race. This should be a fun bonding experience for you and your dog. And the reward is going to be that in the end, your dog will have an enriching experience that they can enjoy either with or without you. Make sure that you take the time whenever you get a new enrichment toy to observe your dog and see if they need some help understanding how to use the toy. But remember, never give the treat directly to your dog when they're working with the enrichment toy. You can make it a little easier by pulling the treat out a little bit, making it easier for them to obtain, but they never want to think that they get the treat from you when they're actually figuring out the toy. Another mistake I see people making is that they don't give their dogs any variety in the enrichment activities that they're providing. It can become really easy to give your dog the same enrichment toy or experience over and over because you know that they like it. Novelty is a part of that enrichment experience. So you can give them greater satisfaction by changing up some part of the enrichment activity and making sure that you're rotating out your toys, even your enrichment toys. Rotate out all of your dog's toys on a regular basis. And if you're anything like me, make sure to set a reminder in your calendar. It's because you will forget. Make sure to rotate out your chew toys. And this leads us into mistake number 5 I see people making. If you're using enrichment bowls or slow feeders, make sure you're swapping those out on a regular basis too. Using slow feeders is one of the easiest ways you can keep your dog's brain busy. If you feed wet food, you can use a slow feeder bowl like this, which is known as an enrichment bowl. If you feed kibble, you can either use a bowl like this or you can use a snuffle mat. If you have a smaller dog or you can get a lick mat big enough, you can use a lick mat like this to feed wet food. Puzzle toys are usually for kibble only, but the great thing about them is that they actually usually have incremental adjustments from beginner, intermediate, and advanced, what makes it easy for you to kind of gauge where your dog is in terms of complexity. You could alternate bowls in between feedings or every couple days. So you could use one bowl for breakfast and one for dinner, or you could use the same bowl for 3 or 4 days and then switch to another one. But even if you have just one type of slow feeder, you are going to be doing your dog such a favor because you are going to be improving their digestion, reducing their risk of choke and bloat, as well as prolonging their mealtime, which will increase their satisfaction. These are the top 5 mistakes I see dog owners making when they're starting out on their enrichment journey. As always, if you're interested in dog enrichment, make sure to hit that paw on the subscribe button. We're going to be doing a lot of cool things with dog enrichment this year, so I want to make sure to take you along for the ride and have a wonderful day.